from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Dealing with unbelievable loss.
You personally lost crops? Like what?
Nothing.
What is the?
I lost nothing compared to what people lost.
One farmer in Hawaii talks about more than just the crops consumed in deadly wildfires. Pork producers face pressures.
This is the worst annual year pork producers will ever have.
Why some market watchers say to prepare for more consolidation in the industry as gas prices are on the rise again. What's behind the latest increases and could they go even higher? The latest right now on AgDay.
AgDay, presented by Pioneer. What's next happens when the name on the cap matches the power of one's purpose. Pioneer, what's next happens here.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Gas prices on the rise again, now the highest they've been in about 10 months. Market watchers say it's due to Russia and Saudi Arabia cutting the global supply. AAA reporting the national average for a gallon of regular gas is now $3.85. That's up 3 cents from just a week ago and up almost 30 cents from a month ago. Checking diesel prices, they're now averaging $4.31 a gallon. That's up 13 cents from just last week. AgDay's Michelle Rook joins us. And Michelle, what's behind the big surge in oil prices recently, and will it continue?
Clinton, one big factor is annual demand for oil is rising globally and will reach a record 102 million barrels per day in 2023. Now that's up 2.2 million barrels per day from last year. That's the forecast from the International Energy Agency, who says it's coming from strong consumption in China and other regions, so prices should be well supported. In June, fuel usage worldwide averaged a record 103 million barrels per day, and demand is expected to surge even further this month. With OPEC nations like Saudi Arabia and its allies intentionally reducing supplies, the global market is tightening significantly. Plus, robust summer air travel and increased oil usage for power generation have supported crude oil prices.
Fundamentally, we talk about spreads all the time. We look at the forward curve in the crude oil market, it's been inverted, telling us the supply and demand is still tight, here domestically and globally. So, when both sides are bullish, that would tell us that this market should be going higher.
But this September West Texas Intermediate contract rallied nearly $18 from June 12th to last week's high, just under $85, and is overbought.
I do know that OPEC's cuts and the fact that Russia's cut a little bit on the production side has been somewhat supportive, but I do think that this market technically could stand a little bit of a retracement.
Yet IEA anticipates depletion of global stockpiles at a rate of 1.7 million barrels per day during this second half of the year. I'm Michelle Rook reporting for AgDay.
Portions of the South could be in for a short break from the heat. Meteorologist Andrew Whitmire joins us with an update.
And Clinton, we are going to get a 1 or 2 day relief for some parts of the country here from the heat before August finally does show up in full steam, especially for the Midwest and Great Lakes states. Just really haven't had too hot of an August so far, but we're going to be watching this big dome of high pressure tracking its way further off towards the east. And that's going to allow that mercury to rise here, especially as we head on into the upcoming weekend and into next week. And with that area of high pressure moving eastward, that also means the dry weather is going to come back into play as well throughout much of the Ag Belt regions. We are hopeful, though, that we'll try to get at least a few thunderstorms bubbling on up there across parts of the Dakotas as we round out this week and heading forward into next week. Looking at our precipitation for this week, though, again, we're going to be watching several active systems off towards the East Coast, Great Lakes states, providing with some timely rain chances as well as parts of the Dakotas. And how about this help on the farm? This video coming to us all the way from Northern Ireland. Mom sharing this video from their dairy farm. Looks like this youngster understands the meaning of hard work and is a big asset to the operation. I'll run your AgDay forecast in just a few.
Timely rains last week are helping improve crop conditions right now. The nation's corn crop now rated 59% good to excellent. That's up 2% from last week. Soybeans also seeing some improvement. Now also 59% good to excellent. That's up 5% from the previous week. Cotton condition sinking, now 36% rated good to excellent, down 5% from last week. While winter wheat harvest, it's nearing an end. Now 92% completed, on par with the 5-year average. These crop conditions and the latest yield predictions from USDA will be on the minds of scouts as they Head out on the 2023 Pro Farmer Crop Tour, and it's going on next week, August 21st through the 24th. And you can join us. Be sure to check out agweb.com and look for the link to the Pro Farmer Crop Tour information. You can also join us for the live in-person events each evening, or watch the day's results by viewing Crop Tour Live online each night at 8 p.m. Central on all of Farm Journal's social media channels, including at agweb.com. As we first reported a week ago, Tyson announcing it's shuttering 4 poultry processing plants later this year and on into 2024. The reason? Tyson says its need to move to more efficient plants. Also last week, news that Smithfield Foods' decision to close 35 hog farms in northern Missouri will result in the loss of 92 jobs. And as Farm Journal's Tyne Morgan reports, this could be the sign of something the livestock industry hasn't seen since 1998, consolidation.
From Tyson Foods shutting down 4 poultry processing plants to Smithfield Foods closing hog farms in northern Missouri. One livestock economist says cuts to pork and poultry are driven by economics today. And whether it's poultry or pork, economists say the decisions are driven purely by economics.
If you look at recent USDA data, it would suggest margins to broiler production have fallen 60% from July of 22 to July of 23.
Iowa State University's data shows crumbling margins are also happening on the pork side.
My data through June shows pork prices are down 5% compared to June of last year. But when we adjust for inflation, that shows it's even worse. So prices are down 8% compared to the same time last year.
And even on a national level, the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows retail pork and poultry prices are also lower than last year.
We've had at least a 10% pullback in most of those categories, and particularly the chicken and the pork complex. Why is that? It's certainly not because cost of production have changed a lot. They're still elevated, but consumer buying power has been squeezed.
So what makes this more challenging than even during COVID? Scholes says it's actually tied back to the pandemic.
You can think about this as just a really long tail onto that, because you got to think about all the outside forces that are impacting pork producers.
Iowa State's model for profitability shows farrow to finish operators in Iowa are bleeding red.
We always talked about 1998 as the worst year ever, but 2023 collectively will be worse than in 1998.
Iowa State's data shows in 1998, which is the last time the industry saw mass consolidation, farrow to finish operators in Iowa were losing nearly $27 a head. This year, projections are those losses will hit nearly $30 a head.
And we're going to piggyback that with the year next year, at least what we're forecasting, is well below break-even levels.
And that's why economists warn that consolidation could continue and only accelerate in the coming months.
Potentially there, we could see increases in Packer-owned hogs if that continues in consolidation. And really, it's just farms getting larger.
All right, thanks, Tyne. Well, hogs were mixed to start the week, but soybeans shined. We'll have more on the markets coming up next. And a farmer suffers crop losses in the wildfires in Hawaii, but he says that's not the biggest losses he's seen in the country. Happening right now, operations along the Panama Canal are being impacted by drought. The organization responsible for managing the canal has decided to restrict both the number of ships passing through each day and the amount of cargo they can carry. Officials say they're taking this action due to a decrease in the water supply caused by the ongoing drought due to El Nino conditions. The issues at one of the world's busiest trade passages have forced some companies to find alternative routes. The restrictions will be in place through next Monday and limits new reservations passing through the canal's old locks, which are commonly used by smaller vessels. Reuters says about 70% of the traffic through the canal originates from or is bound for the U.S. Chances for warmer, drier weather towards the end of this month help push soybean higher on Monday, but that didn't help corn or wheat. Michelle Rook is back with a look at what we'll be watching this week in Markets Now.
Grain markets closed mixed on Monday. Can't beat it with Paradigm Futures joining us with analysis. And Kent, soybeans, a little uptick on Monday. And was that weather or some of this export business that we saw?
We're going to have hotter temperatures midweek in the western corn belt, and then it's spreading into the eastern corn belt for the balance of the week and probably all the way through the end of August. And so with that, we've got a drier forecast, and we may now be offsetting some of the benefit of the early August weather, which was obviously cooler and wetter and very beneficial for soybean growth, for additional pods and for pod fill. 90-degree temperatures and no rain over the second part of the month may start to cut back into the benefits that we got here in early August.
You bet. So corn was kind of stuck between soybeans going higher, wheat going lower. So a half-cent higher on the December close. And the remarkable part is that we held the July lows. That was pretty important, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, 481 was that mark. That was today's low. We matched it. Left a double bottom on the chart and then had a small reversal higher. I would say that's maybe step one in a more important bottoming process if 481 does turn out to be our low. I would note technically that there still is a gap above on the daily chart and the weekly chart between 540 or 24.5 and 25.5. Any sort of recovery will find that area as a target.
And wheat just continues to get pummeled here. And, is it demand woes? What's the problem with the wheat market?
Well, I think there's a lot of skepticism in the marketplace on the entire Black Sea situation. A lot of traders know that the Russians probably need to have the Black Sea open as badly as the Ukrainians would like to have it open. And so while there's been military activity over these past couple of weeks, and there was another altercation last night, the marketplace seems fairly convinced that grain is going to continue to flow through that corridor somehow. I think it's an optimistic view, but that seems to be what the market wants to trade.
All right, thanks for joining us, Kent Beadle, Paradigm Futures, and we'll have more AgDay coming up.
Registration is open for the 2023 Pro Farmer Crop Tour, August 21st through the 24th. Attend one of our nightly meetings or join online as we gain insight on the 2023 growing season. Visit profarmercroptour.com/register to select the stop nearest you.
Looking at our storm risk here on this Tuesday, where we're going to be watching for at least some active weather here across the East Coast, where we could have to watch out for a few damaging storms. And we're also watching Wednesday as well for a secondary cold front that'll be moving through the northern prairie, the upper Midwest, and this will likely slide on down throughout parts of the Great Lakes, Midwestern states here by the time we round out this week. Going hour by hour with the future radar here, we've got this area of low pressure, the strong cold front that did move through the Midwest Great Lakes states, providing some of them with an early taste of fall. Yeah, some 60s and 70s for daytime highs for a few of those folks. As we finish off this Tuesday, though, again, we're going to be watching that cluster of showers and thunderstorms up along the eastern seaboard there. And again, some of those could provide with some damaging wind gusts, maybe even a few tornado warnings as well. Otherwise, our attention then again turns to the Dakotas for a secondary cold front, and it's going to provide some active weather for parts of the Dakotas and upper portion of the Midwest. Going hour by hour as far as the rainfall is concerned here, and again, where those showers and thunderstorms pop on up, that's where we're going to provide across parts of the eastern seaboard with some decent rainfall amounts, where we could be looking at anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of water. Looking very closely at our jet stream early this week, we've got this dip right here, this trough, and that's what's providing us again with some of those timely showers and thunderstorms. But I want to direct your attention over here to this kind of pink shaded area. This is a big dome of high pressure once again that's going to begin to move its way across parts of the heartland and even up into the Midwest Great Lakes states here as we go forward into this weekend. And in fact, if you find yourself underneath of this heat dome all the way from Texas up across parts of the Dakotas and even as far eastward as parts of the Great Lakes states and even the Ohio and Tennessee River valleys, could be looking at multiple days into the 90s with heat indices that are going to be a little bit hotter than that, into that triple-digit heat mark. And where we do have those heat indices climbing up to near that triple-digit heat mark underneath that dome of high pressure, we, of course, are going to dry out things, it looks like, throughout much of the Ag Belt region. Take a look at our temperatures across the board this afternoon. There's that cool taste of fall air up across the upper Midwest. Check out Minneapolis, 67 degrees for an afternoon high temperature. That's a look around the country. Now let's take a look here at AgDay Select Cities. Going over to California, sunny, hot, high 98 degrees. Going over to Aspen, mostly sunny, high 80 degrees. And Bad Axe, Michigan there, few spotty showers, high temperature 72.
The Dairy Report on Ag Day is brought to you by Beringer Ingelheim, because you, the people who put cattle first, are second to none.
Milk prices have improved slightly, but dairy producers are facing difficult margins, and it could stay that way for a while. Class 3 fluid milk contracts are above $17 now, in the nearby contract and deferred are over $18. However, market analysts say there still hasn't been enough liquidation in the U.S. herd to expect a bigger boost in price.
Still, when you look ahead, things are not all that rosy, and for many it's been a pretty tough run. So we expect that we'll see cow numbers decline slowly, maybe more aggressively into the September time window, as farmers get a look at kind of what they have for silage.
However, USDA lowered milk production forecasts for 2023 and 2024 in the latest supply-demand report. A dairy at one university has turned into a place of comfort. Michigan State University's dairy opening its doors this past spring, inviting students to come by and pet the cows and calves. Organizers doing it to help students process a recent mass shooting on the campus. They say the first two outreach events hosted about 800 people. And leaders say the Gentle Giants at the dairy had a positive effect on many people, saying people who just brushed a cow for an hour would tell them they felt more at peace. The MSU Dairy in East Lansing is home to more than 250 cows. You can read more about this healing event at dairyherd.com. Still ahead, a farmer in Hawaii shares what he lost in the wildfires as the search for victims continues and the cleanup begins. Next. The number of confirmed deaths in Hawaii continues to rise. The wildfires on Maui, now Hawaii's deadliest natural disaster in recent memory. Thousands of people are displaced and thousands more are still without power and communications. And Bill Weir reports residents of the hard-hit town of Lahaina are being allowed back into their homes and farms to get a first look at the ashes left behind.
The trees that you guys see behind you right here, this was all from the tornado that came through. That's crazy. No, we've never even seen a tornado in Hawaii.
In a place so familiar with weather extremes.
Wow, it's crazy.
Maui locals have never seen anything like the firestorm that obliterated Lahaina.
We just saw a little smolder of smoke, and we're like, wow, the house had survived, and now there's a little brush fire, and then within 5 minutes the whole thing was engulfed. Just went up in flames. Really? There's nobody there to put anything out.
We're just pulling into Lahaina now, just getting our first glimpse at this town after hearing these nightmare stories. And it is worse than you can imagine. It looks like a World War II set, like a bomb went off here. Just utter scorched devastation everywhere, melted boats in the harbor. What was once the capital of the Kingdom of Hawaii and one of the most well-preserved towns in the nation is ash, including Bill Weiland's famous art gallery. And he says he escaped the flames on his Harley Davidson, riding around evacuees trapped between fire and ocean.
Had I took the car instead of motorcycle, I'd probably been with everybody else jumping in the water. It was flames were shooting over the top, coming at. I didn't even want to look behind me because I knew they were behind me.
And there's nowhere to go. You're pinned between
pinned, and that's
fire
what happened.
And the ocean.
That's what happened to all the people. I think is all those cars that were sitting waiting for someone to move in front of them. No one was moving anywhere. You were dead in the water.
Yeah.
They all jumped in the ocean, and a lot of them didn't make it, from what I heard. No, a lot of people.
I'm sure if the winds were 80 miles an hour, the surf must have been.
It wasn't just that. There was diesel fuel floating in the water as well, and the Coast Guard couldn't come in too far because of the reefs, and a lot of the people can't swim that far. And then a couple people died of smoke inhalation as well. They were just inundated. I know a lady that stood in the water for 8 hours.
Farmer Eddie Garcia lost a small fortune in crop damage, but now is bracing for much bigger losses.
My God, when I was down there early, there were uncles and people I know in the street dead. People were trying to get to the end of the street. You can tell by where the cars that were parked. They say hundreds of people jumped in the water.
You personally lost crops? What is the...
I lost nothing compared to what people lost. I lost farm stuff and food and whatever, tiny little things compared to what people lost. People lost their family, they lost their houses, everything we've seen, all the landmarks, everything that we've seen for years, history, it's all gone.
Bill Weir reporting. Now, it's estimated the wildfires cost more than $1.3 billion in damage to at least 3,000 homes. That's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.